The Archdiocese of Chicago is a vibrant and diverse faith community. We celebrate our faith through worship, evangelization, and reaching out to the needy. Welcome to Catholic Chicago.
Good morning, welcome to Catholic Chicago. I'm Father Greg Sakowicz, Director of Holy Cathedral in Chicago. Again, Mark Tracy and I will join, but we have a wonderful guest, again, backed by popular demand. Dr. Edward Gordon, who's an historian, researcher, writer, dear friend with his wife Elaine, active members of the Cathedral for many, many years. And Dr. Gordon has been on so many times talking about various, many subjects. So, Dr. Edward Gordon, welcome to the program again.
Thank you. Thanks, Greg.
Good to always have you. And we're going to jump right into the program. We're going to be talking today about the economy from 2025 into 2026. So, Dr. Edward Gordon, what's the state of the economy right now?
Okay, well, let's go to the second slide. I'll cover a number
Edward, waste no time.
Yes. Tariffs are a major issue in this economy. Right now, the overall impact of tariffs on the countries around the world is almost 17%. That's the highest tariff.
No, wait, say it again.
17% tariff average. Some are higher, some are lower. Okay?
Wow.
And that's the highest tariff wall we've had since 1935. And right now, American companies next year will be struggling to adopt this tariff chaos because it keeps changing constantly. It's not a constant. Washington keeps changing its mind. It will cause prices to rise further.
So if you are an owner of a company, what you're saying to me is tariffs are causing havoc within your company.
Right.
Regarding the barometer of what price
right.
to charge.
And they've eaten a lot of the cost, but now they're going to start passing more and more of that cost along to the consumer.
So therefore, for the consumer, the price will go up.
Right. Now so our prediction for next year is that inflation, which is really a tax on services and products, will cost the average household around $1,200 per household.
More,
unless the tariffs are reduced. They are unsettling the world economy, and at the same time, the tariffs, if, however, were lifted, inflation would ease and the economy would improve.
Okay, now, Edward, stop right there. You're an economist, I'm not. First of all, why the tariffs in the first place?
Well, it was based on the premise from the 19th century that tariffs, that our trade deficit was causing us to be punished by foreign countries because Americans were buying more products from abroad than we were selling. Well, I have news for you. When we buy more products from abroad, other people tend then to buy or invest in our stock market, so it evens out. All right, we don't lose anything. A large part of our debt, which we'll talk about in a minute, is financed by foreigners who are using their funds to buy our stock.
Now, let me ask you: are tariffs a good or bad idea, or is that too sweeping in question?
Well, it depends. If you sell a car in China for $25,000. Versus our car, electric car, for $50,000, and the government there is subsidizing that, even though they're losing money on every car they sell, you might consider a tariff on a Chinese car, all right? But if you consider a tariff on other items, like tuna fish, we don't have any tuna fish here in the United States because it's around the equator is where the tuna are caught.
Right.
So that is, we are not going to develop a tuna fish industry.
In this country.
In this country,
yeah, exactly.
Right. Okay?
Okay.
So let's move on now to number 4. And we're going to talk about employment. All right? So this is the highest employment number we've had since 2021. And since April, 5 58,000 manufacturing jobs have been lost.
58,000
8,000 U.S. manufacturing jobs are gone.
being taken place by AI?
In
Computers?
some cases, yes, right.
Wow.
But the problem manufacturers have is there's a huge shortage of people in high-end manufacturing, all right? So if you look at the next slide, slide 6, you'll see that we have right now anywhere between 7 to 12 million vacant jobs. These are jobs that we can't
In
fill.
our country?
Right now, okay? And the reason for this is we do not have the people with the right education and skills to fill those jobs, and companies aren't training. And the trend in education right now has been across the country in many ways to dumb down educational standards rather than raising them.
Now, why have companies stopped training?
Because it's a cost, and they want maximum return in this quarter. So
When did companies stop training? The last decade, 2 decades?
It started in the mid-90s and has
Really?
accelerated. Yes, about 40% of companies trained in the mid-90s. Now it's down to around 20%.
So like 40 years ago, many companies were training.
Right. But on the other end, the other problem we have is that companies, if we go to the next slide, slide 7, you'll see that a lot of companies simply, look at this, these numbers. 56% have an opening, and half of those people cannot find a qualified applicant to fill the opening. I want you to think about that.
No, say it again. 50%?
56% of small businesses have job openings right now,
Okay.
and they can't fill them because they can't find a qualified applicant.
So I come walking in to get a computer job. I'm a computer illiterate. I can't
That's
take the
not
job.
the problem. I need a auto technician for my auto dealership.
Oh, gotcha.
Okay. Oh, that's a grease monkey, right? No. The average reading level needed to run to look at the manuals and the computer and use it is 16th grade level of reading comprehension.
To be an auto mechanic.
Yes. They
Because
pay, and that's a
I remember
$100,000
as
a year
kid,
job.
You know, like this, I had many years ago when I was young a '67 Ford Mustang.
Yeah.
I wish I had that car today because it'd be a valued vintage car. I remember toying with the engine, playing with the engine, the sparks, the plugs, all that stuff. It was very basic stuff. I opened up an engine that the car I have now, a 2020
Well,
Ford
it's all
Escape.
changed.
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh.
Right.
I couldn't even get under the hood.
Let's go to the next slide. The problem is we need more skilled workers, and there's shortages of these skilled people worldwide. By 2030, we could have in this country a shortage of 30 million jobs vacant.
By 2030?
By 2030. And worldwide, there could be 100 million empty jobs worldwide simply because people do not have the right education and training, whether it's
Okay,
apprenticeship
back up a little bit.
or degree.
Okay, back up a little bit. And that is, then what is happening in colleges and universities? These kids are getting degrees
Yes.
to do what?
Well, it's not just that. It's also the colleges, there are fewer 18-year-olds, and so they're allowing kids into schools that need better reading and math and writing skills, all right? And they're letting them pass through, and they're dumbing down courses, all right? So what is that going to do to the job market at the other end? All right, let's move on to the next slide. Let's talk about debt. There's a heightened risk of debt right now throughout the world. Right now, there are titanic levels of global debt, and tariffs, because they're destabilizing world trade, is just making this worse. It's a real fiscal problem, and if one of the world's economies crumbles, it's going to have an impact here. Let's go to the next slide, and you can see
Before we say surpass $100
trillion in world debt.
Could
Yes.
this lead us to a global?
Well, I'm going to talk about that at the end.
Gotcha.
What's going to
Okay,
happen.
good.
But take a look at the next slide,
So,
guys.
folks, stay tuned.
Right here, look. There is our share of the debt. There's China. There are all these other countries. Right now, the interest on the U.S. debt is 15% of the federal budget. That's larger than the Pentagon's budget. All right?
Wow.
Right. And at the same time, if you add up the federal government, personal debt of people, and then corporate debt, the total debt in the U.S. is 220% of our gross domestic product is now tied up in debt. So people are using debt to live. All right?
Using debt to live.
There are a lot of them. So look at the next slide for just a second, please.
You're putting a lot of pressure on Michael May.
I know.
Michael, you're doing a great job,
53%,
Michael.
53% of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck.
That's more than half.
Yeah. So if something goes wrong and they don't get that paycheck, they're going to fall behind in their bills, their mortgages, etc. All right?
Which, in our lives, the car breaks down, the refrigerator goes, and so that could actually put people into the hole where they can't recover.
That's right. Now,
And food prices are going up.
well, and we're going to let's look at this now. The next big driver of what's going on, if we go to the next slide, is AI, artificial intelligence. It's created a investment bubble. In fact, some economists think that 50% of the GDP right now is being financed by AI investment. 50%. In fact, J.P. Morgan predicted that by 2030, America would have invested $1.5 trillion in these stocks. All right?
Wow.
Now, right now, what we're getting out of this? Well, right now there are some products that have come out, but the return, the fiscal return, the profit, is very low. So a lot of these tech companies are taking big losses. But companies are buying more and more of this on the idea that AI will help them shed hundreds of thousands of workers, which will reduce their cost, and therefore their profits will soar.
But now you're putting more people out of work.
That's what they expect to happen. Now,
But you need people to have jobs
but it's not happening.
to keep the economy going
Yeah,
strong.
but it's not happening. Okay? Now, what will the impact of AI ultimately be? It's like every other new technology that is introduced. Gradually, it will have, it's a tool, but it's a tool that is going to be used by skilled workers to improve productivity, performance, and profit. It will not replace workers. Now you're going to say, well, Amazon says they're going to throw off 100,000 workers in their warehouses with robots. Well, maybe eventually, but they're also struggling to hire the technicians to install the robots, repair the robots, and manage the robots. All right? So even if they have all these, the low-skilled jobs may be eliminated. I think they will be, but it'll be very gradual. Also, what technology like AI tends to do is invent new jobs that we don't even know about.
Well, okay, that's interesting.
This has happened on every, but when we invested in railroads in the 19th century, there was a huge explosion of investment, and a lot of that collapsed because the return to the railroads was not what they had promised. Electricity, when electricity was in, the same thing. It was overly invested. A lot of that bubble collapsed. Did electricity help? Sure, but it was gradual. In the 1950s, when IBM, the big blue boxes,
Right.
It was going to throw out all these workers. No, it didn't do that. Again, though, it caused a lot of other new jobs to be developed because of computerization.
Okay, interesting,
all right?
okay.
So the same thing will happen with AI. Now, so the question is, when will investors lose patience with putting all this money into the market and they're not getting back a good return? There will be big consequences if there's a major market correction. Let's go to the next slide. So people are saying, oh, Ed, look, I realize there's an AI bubble, so now I'm going to invest in gold and silver. Well, let's see. Silver has gone up 117% this year. Platinum has gone up 109%, and gold is up 64%.
So, Tom, the thing is, so if you had a silver dollar from 1920,
Right.
in just good condition,
Right.
that silver dollar would be worth, I could take it to a coin shop, he'd give me $63.55 because the silver content
Right.
had silver.
Right.
And
Now,
because that's silver dollar.
I remember years ago, the South Africans had a golden Krugerrand, and people were buying these Krugerrands. This is in the 70s when inflation was very high. I know people that bought it. I think I bought one Krugerrand for $186 and sold it for $350. But I only bought one. And I bought it and sold it before what happened? It crashed and it went way down.
Now, if you had that same item today, are you saying it would be?
It'd probably be worth a lot more.
$4,300?
Yeah, right. An ounce of gold.
So when you say gold here, you're talking 1 ounce.
1 ounce, yes.
Silver,
right.
1 ounce.
Yes. But the question is, how long will those numbers last? There will be a decline, and it's a gamble. All right? Now let's move on to our next slide. And take a look at this now. You also have stable coins, bitcoins. They're also being used as inflation. But in all these cases, you have a run-up. If you look at the profit, there's a euphoria over AI, gold, silver, and it reaches a certain point where the market is saturated and people begin to question whether or not they should invest more money.
Right.
And then what sets in? A panic.
Panic.
Right. Now, is there going to be a panic? All right. That's the question. All right. Will there be a correction? So now let's go to the next slide. This is the key slide in the whole program. All right. So in 2026, you have tariffs, you have AI, and you have these coins, gold coins, and also the stable coins, bitcoins.
Right.
They also are artificial means of trying to be hedged against inflation. All right. I predict overall inflation will be probably about 5%. All right.
Now, what is it?
3. It's 3% now.
What was it a year ago?
2. Now,
That's actually not good then.
no. Now, but I have caveats. Now, the GDP, the gross domestic product, will grow, but it could grow anywhere from 0 to 2%. And I'm going to offer some caveats as to why there's a variation here in a minute. Okay, so you have a huge size of AI in tech stocks, and this is very dangerous to ignore. There's all this money. And if a dramatic pullback in AI confidence to produce returns, it's going to cause a serious shockwave across global economies, not just ours, but others. And by the end of 2025, right now, today, in the Wall Street Journal, the big headline was AI, these tech stocks right now have been continue dropping. They've been dropping lately. Now, will that continue? It's indeterminate. I don't have a crystal ball here and say that this is, when will confidence?
Yeah, let me ask this question next.
Yes.
How do people lose confidence, for example, in AI? What causes?
Returns, monetary returns.
For their money investment.
Right. So if you invested money in a quarter, you expected to get some profit from it.
Correct.
All right. Now, the bigger the AI bubble goes, the greater it will raise inflation. It's now at 3%, and it's going to rise, but it's also linked to the tariff imports. So now if Washington backs off, and as you know, they have cut back on some tariff imports, but then they've increased others. And we don't know how they're making those decisions, and I don't know either. So,
But they seem to almost be changing daily.
Now the other issue is these crypto coins. They're becoming...
What is a crypto coin?
Well, this is an artificial means of investing. where there's only a certain amount of coin produced that you can invest in. And some of these numbers have gone up. Bitcoin went way, way up, and then it came sharply down. But what's happening now is that the crypto coin is now getting into traditional banking. All right? And they're buying short-term government debt using these coins. So if crypto crashes, there will be an impact for a lot of investors and also for the government if this is now being sold by the banks and other investment firms. So right now, stocks are in a big valuation bubble. They're very, very expensive if you look at the stock market. And it's going to be hard hit when the economy, if the economy, and when the economy collapses. Now, a crash or a decline is not inevitable. It doesn't have to happen. But the risks of this are rising now for 2026.
And what's causing the greater risks?
All of the above.
Okay, all of the above. Okay, all right.
Crypto coins, tariffs, AI investment. Okay? So people ask me, well, what's the best thing to do right now? And I say, well, if you have money, keep it in cash.
Really?
For now. Yes, keep it in cash. Now, there are some banks, saving accounts, that are offering some interest. All right? But if interest rates...
would you say invest in that then? For example,
yes,
if you
for the
get
time being, yes.
like 4% or something?
For the well, no, it's like 3.5%.
3.5% right now?
Because remember, they just lowered, the Federal Reserve just lowered interest rates.
That's right.
So then banks lower rates. Right. Now, of course, one of the problems is if we lower our interest rates and other countries raise their interest rates. So right now, the Japanese are gradually raising their interest rates, and they've been at zero. Well, what happens is, when people look to invest in other countries, they want to get their biggest bang for the buck. So if
how many is Japan?
So the Japanese have been buying a lot of our debt, treasuries, all right? If they slow down in doing that because our interest rates are so low and theirs are higher, who's going to buy our debt? And that's what finances the government. Remember, I just was talking to you about that.
Right.
So these are very volatile times we're engaged in right now, and I want to show people that there are many individual issues going on here that they need to pay attention to.
Let me ask you this question. In all that you've said, which is fascinating, you've done courses on this, what is the unknown X factor?
When will people lose confidence and start selling their stock, particularly in AI, or selling gold because it's so expensive? They're going to pull out now and take the cash.
And by doing that,
it will cause a panic.
Gotcha.
It'll cause a meltdown.
And that panic then causes...
It can spread to many things. It can spread across the market. It's happened before. Remember in 08? Well, in 08 it happened.
Yeah, oh gosh.
All right? Yes.
Clearly 08. In August of 08.
Right. And it could happen again. What will trigger it? I don't know.
Back in time, in August of 08, we were very close on the very cusp of a depression.
No, we were very close to a real estate market bubble. And what was happening is valuations on houses was at an all-time high, and it was being financed by unstable mortgage arrangements.
Gotcha.
All right? And that came unwound as some of these mortgage companies went broke. And that dragged into the banks, and that's when the federal government
stepped in
and started qualitative easing.
Yes.
And the Federal Reserve started buying debt, buying treasuries.
Gotcha, okay.
In order to finance the rescue of the economy.
That was a very serious situation.
Yes, and guess what now? The federal, that got up to $6 trillion. Yes, it came down to 4 trillion. And right now, the Federal Reserve is starting to buy debt again in order to keep enough liquidity in the economy so the banks have the cash to meet the demand. So that in itself is a warning signal. And remember, quantitative easing that the federal government did was meant to be a temporary measure.
Right.
All right? Because look, if the federal government, one agency prints the money and then another agency starts buying up the debt, it's like the federal government is trying to finance itself with these maneuvers.
Are there right now in this country banks that are closing?
No. That's why they're doing it.
Okay, and also now, in the last few minutes, other predictions for 2026. What's your crystal ball?
The Democrats probably will gain control of one of the houses of Congress.
Okay. Why do you say that?
Because usually the party that wins the White House and the general election loses control in the by-election year.
Okay.
And right now, the majority of Americans feel the economy is not helping them because prices are too high.
Oh, okay.
All right.
Gotcha.
And inflation is increasing. And they feel that...
spirals in that direction then.
Right. And the government is saying it was Biden's fault, it's not the current government's fault. Well, usually people don't buy that because who's ever in charge is the one that they hang the tail on the donkey.
Right, gotcha.
Or the elephant in this case.
Any other predictions?
The European Union will increase its support of Ukraine. The war will continue. I also expect that the United States will not pull its troops out of Europe, out of NATO. And at the same time, you could see the government in Venezuela collapse and a new democratic president installed in Venezuela.
And right now, just to go back to one of your topics you just talked about is the war in the Ukraine. You say that will continue?
Yes, because the Europeans will step in and they will increase their support of the Ukrainians. And they will ignore the crazy idea that Russia has a right to the Ukraine, that Russia should be able to absorb large parts of the Ukraine in any kind of peace deal, because the Ukrainians don't see it that way. You know, Ukraine was an independent country until it was conquered by Catherine the Great, and then it was absorbed into the USSR after the Russian Revolution. Ukrainians are not Russians. Now, the Russians have attempted to settle in parts of the Ukraine a lot of Russians who are not Ukrainians, all right? But I think the Europeans realize that if Putin is allowed to absorb the Ukraine, like Hitler was able to absorb Austria and Czechoslovakia, with a threat of war, in this case a real war is going on, then the Europeans feel that Poland, Lithuania, Estonia, Latvia, they're at risk because they were part of the Russian Empire.
Oh, okay, so it all interconnects.
Romania, Hungary, Bulgaria, these countries feel at great risk, and even though there are people who support far-right governments that supposedly support strong men in their countries and reduce democracy and also support Putin, there are many Europeans who want democracy preserved.
Well, on that note, I want to thank Dr. Edward Gordon. Edward, you're amazing. I mean, this knowledge just kind of just spills from your lips, and you're so well read, and also you take everything to heart in terms of you research. It's not just theorizing, but somehow it's backed up. And so thank you very much for being a guest. I want to thank, again,
thank you for having me.
Our producer, director, choreographer, Michael May, who did another outstanding job, and to all our listeners during this Christmas season, into the new year, may God bless all of you as we continue this Christmas season with the Lord in our lives, and blessings, joy, and health in 2026. And I predict, because this was done in this mid-December, that the Bears will do okay. Pretty general. God bless. Blessings. Enjoy the new year.